and then I'll do a little bit of further talking. Bottom right hand side, our red Terran player, currently teamless, is KeeN. And he is going up against the blue Terran from Mind Sanity. To top left hand side of the map, it is aLive. Thank you very much again, Montian, for the cheer 100. Appreciate it. Can you get some love in the chat for that, please? If you guys are enjoying the stream, of course, don't forget to hit that follow button. See when we go live again in the future. We run events such as the WardiTV Weekly and pretty much try and broadcast for you guys as much as possible. This month we're trying to be live every single day with some StarCraft 2 content for you all, so hopefully you enjoy. So again, thanks for tuning in. Obviously, if you want to support further, then cheering in a chat has been a very popular way to do so as of late. But you can also donate directly. You can subscribe as well. So do check out those options if you do want to support the stream and help us to continue being a full-time stream, bring you guys consistent StarCraft 2 content and more. Outside of that, guys, obviously, if you are wanting to support the tournament today, we sadly don't have any coupon codes for the Match Arena page, which is a bit of a shame. Just a little bit of a breakdown in communication, or something went wrong somewhere, because we should have had those. So if you want to support the tournament, you can go to Match Arena, and you'd obviously have to donate out of your own pocket. But it does all go towards the players. The top two today will take home a portion of the prize pool, 75-25 split. So if you want to support the players from today's event and maybe convince them to come back again in the future, do consider checking out that Match Arena page. !Match Arena in the chat will give you the link. So early on here, as we see that supply depot looks surprisingly like a factory in the production tab, doesn't it? Is that just me? Like, I was just so caught off guard by it. I was like, why is he building two supply depots? And I was like, wait, that's a factory and a supply. What? I was like so confused. I don't know. Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, the openings here, sorry, is what I was going to talk about initially before I got dragged off course. The opening from KeeN is obviously a bit more aggressive. The double gas early, not going into a CC quite as quickly, and just looking to open with a couple of Reapers, a Hellion, a Cyclone, into probably a Raven, more so than, or more likely than Cloak Banshee, although Cloak Banshee is a possibility, and we have seen a bit more of that as of late as well, despite the fact that a lot of players playing Raven does sort of shut down the potential of Banshees a lot of the time. It is going to be a Raven out of KeeN as he throws his command center down on the low ground. Now back home for aLive, he has got the CC finished, a much faster expand from him, but a later factory, a later starport. And see that factory finishing up on the tech lab, we will see the tank starting to build. So he's going to be seeing the tank on the way out, Viking on the way. I mean, it's just a super safe defensive way to play for aLive. With a tank, you're very safe against the majority of attacks on the ground. With the Viking, you're very safe against, it's just that extra little bit of damage to poke away at, say, a Liberator or a Banshee or a Raven. It just keeps you safe. It pushes units away and puts you into a very comfortable position. Now, KeeN, with the 1-1-1 setup of his own, obviously feels quite comfortable, and that's why he throws down the first CC. He doesn't feel any need to go into extra racks early. Just going to set up for the economy right from the get-go and just go from there. So nothing too surprising about that. I mean, it's a very standard way to play out the TVT. Whereas you've got the 1-1-1, you can build those units that just keep you very safe, and that allows you to get the third CC quickly. And it's interesting how it works out. aLive, slightly faster expand, then doesn't lead him into a faster third CC. So his third CC comes down a bit later. But for the most part, the players are doing the exact same thing as each other. Even if we look at the unit tab, a Raven is up, but there's about to be more Ravens on the way from each other, tanks on the way. It's very, very similar from the players here in the early stages. Two Reapers to the right hand side, just going to be sat here and still waiting to see what is next. A single Hellion going to move on over to the side as well. So a single Hellion to the left, looking to see what's up and what's going on. Again, these two Reapers just moving around too. I mean, obviously as the game passes by, it gets to this sort of point where the couple of Reapers are not really that likely to have much of an impact on the game. As you see the Raven on the way up from aLive as well. Again, just another little something to set up towards the natural expansion. Selene takes a shot of damage, and the Reapers as well are going to be looking to see what they can do. Going to get shut down immediately by the Marines up here. Again, I mean, at this point, Reapers trying to pick up an SCV kill or two is probably more effective than them doing anything else. Because I'm very surprised by how passive KeeN has been, honestly. I mean, we saw him opening with the faster kind of aggressive units. and this faster expansion from aLive, but KeeN hasn't done anything. And I mean, yes, he took the third CCC pretty quick, but so is aLive, and so KeeN has done nothing at all to even begin trying to harass. You know, he never sent his Ravens across the map or anything, and so he has just been trailing in the worker can throughout the entirety of the game so far. Another Viking joins up, and as one Marine goes up the left-hand side, we do see the third CC landed down in position. 2 refineries starting to build from aLive as well, and Mule dropping down. I mean, just starting to mine. I mean, exactly the same as what KeeN's doing back at home as well. And again, aLive, just with the extra workers, that's starting to show now in other ways. The double engineering bay has been able to start. So double engineering bay has been able to start. That's 1-1 upgrades on the way down. We see 1-1 coming out from KeeN as well. A lot of Vikings on the way from KeeN. What's aLive doing a similar sort of thing, also making Vikings, but I think just a little bit slower on that, just because his starport was up a little bit later, so. Again, differences on either side. Generally, I'd say it's advantageous to aLive. Still 10, 11 workers ahead at this point of the time. And again, it's just KeeN has been very passive, and it doesn't really, you know, he doesn't benefit from being passive at all, you know. I mean, I'm not saying go attack up the ramp and try and fight into 4 tanks, but send your Ravens across the map, you know, try and find a couple of order turrets. I mean, the time is sort of past now because there's a lot of Vikings up for your opponents. It's a bit riskier. But, you know, if you look for those opportunities, that's when you're going to be able to maybe get damage done. But again, he's just been sitting back and not really doing much at all. He's playing very much so like aLive is doing, which, again, doesn't make sense because he's been opening more aggressively. I know I'm sort of really kind of talking this point to death, but it is true. And I mean, it's the kind of reason that KeeN is so far behind at this point in the game. So it's important to mention. So the Cyclone actually does a surprisingly good job against that tank in the front just because of the choked up units there. You see a factory is coming down to the third base as well. So factory dropping down. You're going to see 1 Marine from KeeN. Is going to get cleaned up by a couple of Marines of aLive. I mean, both players will contest map control of Marines throughout the game. And it's just what we're seeing so far, so that's something we're, again, expecting to see. As these tanks moving up to the top side, and again, tanks, Vikings, Ravens going to be thinking about moving on in towards the natural expansion. Marines and tanks to the left side going to work their way through those rocks as well. These tanks siege, the Sensor Tower will go down, and Supply Depot 2 going to get blown up pretty swiftly. Supply Depot does get picked off right there, and KeeN takes a nice position. Going to get himself another depot kill as well. But aLive, look at this, just moving across the map. He says, okay, you want to fight me? He's, you know, the thing is, KeeN's in a position which is a very passive position. You know, it's, you know, sieging up, and it's like, well, you know, I'm going to deny this area of your natural, and it's not going to move forwards from there. I mean, aLive's actually going to take a very similar position. But he's able to do this because he knows that KeeN is sort of sitting back so defensively. He takes down the Sensor Tower, which is nice. He continues to just work his way in. Actually, just for KeeN, more depots in this position, so aLive will go straight up, find more damage from the get-go. Point of defense runs on either side as the Vikings do start to have a little bit of a trade. Actually, aLive kind of just spamming out his point defense runs there. KeeN being a little bit more cautious with those, allowing him to sort of have a bit of a better time. Looks like aLive actually lost maybe a couple of Vikings in the first place anyway, so he's going to have to land. He's not going to have the air control here, which is fine. I don't think he really needs the air control right now, aLive. I mean, it's always a nice thing to have in TVT, but it's not really going to cost them the game or anything. As we see, more Marines going to come around the left side. And this isn't that much from KeeN anymore. I mean, I know it's 5 tanks, but a decent spread and stim in will close the gap very quickly. And with no Marines to support especially, those tanks are going to die pretty much immediately, so KeeN's still just sat here. Again, more units coming across aLive. He's going to reinforce. Again, pretty much just ignoring this attack from KeeN because it's not doing immediate kind of massive amounts of damage. It's a very much so just a very positional sort of thing. It's aLive positioning around, thinking about maybe moving up this ramp. We see that tank going down there. Big stim from the Marines. He's just going to try and push up. I mean, pushing up a ramp into a tank is not usually pretty, but it's only 1 or 2 tanks, and it's not that many overall. This CC is going to get blown up, and all of a sudden KeeN doesn't have a natural any longer aLive. A pretty decisive movement up this ramp, and takes an advantage from that right from the get-go. Tank's going to unsiege, and looks as though aLive will just pull away a little bit. Now KeeN's coming back down the south side, reinforcing back at home. I mean, it sounds weird to reinforce back at home, but just bringing his units back from this aggressive position as aLive has so much across the map as well. This has just worked out so well for him. It was a good trade in the end, and I mean, he's up kind of upgrades too. I mean, +3 has already started, so that's something which he continues to maintain an advantage with regards to. And this KeeN pulling all the way back down the right-hand side, and I mean, KeeN again, he's just lost so much already. It was a good idea by aLive to counterattack initially. Again, it's one of those weird positions, this one over here, where once you're sieged up, you're unlikely to move further. And we saw the same from aLive. When he sieged up, he didn't really move much further forwards very quickly. So kind of going for the counterattack made a lot of sense. You don't need the units in position to defend. 1 or 2 tanks will stop your opponent just moving into you. And that puts you in a nice little spot. 4th CC begins to build from aLive, just expanding here. Taking another base, continuing to build on his lead. You can see the money in his bank, 700, 1,000. He's got money to rebuild. He's got money to go once again. There's just going to be no slowing down. aLive in this game, number 1. It looks as though we might be seeing KeeN again, just taking the kind of the early loss here. We'll have to maybe rethink things a little bit heading in towards game 2 in the near future. Tank siege, Vikings and Ravens again. One of the advantages that KeeN has is still that air control, but it can only go so far. And now aLive makes a move towards the 3rd base. Meanwhile, he still has some units to the left-hand side. It's actually a lot of tanks to the left-hand side, which may be a bit vulnerable. Either way, he's going to get in position over here in this 3rd base. I mean, KeeN just did not see this coming into position. He did not get into position himself in time as the tanks siege up. Well, actually, it's going to be aLive who gets a little bit kind of the worst trade on the tank trades. But, I mean, he's still in position on the 3rd base, right? And I mean, we already saw KeeN losing the natural expansion once here. He will save the CC, but if you can't mine from this base, I mean, well, where's the CC going to go? We're going to see now drop into the main base too. aLive just lifting up units from one location and just putting them elsewhere. KeeN is not got enough to be everywhere, and that's going to be GG. Again, thanks for tuning in, of course, and if again you are enjoying the stream, don't forget to hit that follow button. See you when we go aLive again here in the future. Wow, I was so sure you spawn top left and bottom right on this map. Okay. It's kind of like Paladino Terminal, where you spawn in other locations, in the in the other like corners. Okay, we'll talk about the map in a moment. What I was just saying is, thank you of course for tuning in today, guys. I wish you all checking out the stream and checking out the WardiTV Weekly, of course. So thank you very much for coming in. Again, don't forget !Match Arena if you want to support the event. And of course, plenty of ways to support the stream as well. We do run this WardiTV Weekly series because of our subscribers. Our subscribers are the reason which we're able to run this tournament and to bring you guys so often a tournament pretty much every single week, because the subscriber money goes a long way towards giving us enough money basically to put into some prize pools. Good morning from Chicago, says Phoenix19. Hope you're having a good day. My day's been pretty good so far. And as we go into this, we do have to the top right hand side the red Terran player. Game 2 of this best of 3. He's down by a game. Let's see if he can bounce back once again with the double gas opening. It is KeeN. Bottom left hand side, our blue Terran player. It is aLive from My Insanity. He this time around will not be expanding as quickly as he did in game number 1. Will instead be going for the double gas himself. And so both players will go factory into a Reaper to kick off this second game of the series. So Reaper on the way up. Factory is building as well from aLive, as we've mentioned. I mean, it's building as well from KeeN. Again, nothing too crazy. We see a lot of these kind of double gas openers in TVT, the mirror matchup, which allows you to be kind of anything really. You can be aggressive, you can be defensive. We saw last game a good example of that. aLive being defensive, KeeN with the more aggressive options, but didn't really then use the aggression, I guess, to really push his advantage. SCV over here interests me. Is it going to be a proxy starport? It is indeed. So KeeN going to throw that down. I mean, it's interesting, I guess. It is interesting seeing that starport starting up here. So that's going to be coming through, and it'll be about halfway done. Ready to send his harassment units forwards. I mean, obviously, the fact that aLive is not expanding quickly gives him a better chance of defending against this. As you see the Reaper Hellion joining in the middle, aLive getting the better shots initially, and ooh, well, KeeN able to use the kind of fog of war there, or the kind of the line of sight blocker. He actually gets some good damage onto the Hellion, which won't regenerate, of course. So it's an interesting little trade. A second Hellion from aLive coming out too. Let's talk a little bit about the map, by the way. It's natural expansion. Again, main base fairly safe, obviously droppable from over here. Natural also droppable, but mineral line to kind of the back of the base keeps it a little bit safer, as we will see. Now aLive outnumbered, loses a Hellion actually as he backs away. Moving out there from the second base though, third base is going to be weird. The middle of the map is very strange with all of these rocks and blocks and everything else. Let's see the Liberator on the way out. Now aLive has actually opted to go for a Banshee. He has got a Cyclone, but the Cyclone coming down to the low ground is going to be used to kind of deal with this Reaper Hellion to push it away, which means it's so far out of position that this Liberator is going to have a pretty good time. So here we go, Liberator sieges on up, and well, aLive is just completely in the wrong position. I mean, he's going to lose so much mining time from this, and this is one of those positions where the Liberator is just going to do so much more damage than Liberators oftentimes do in TVT. Cyclone does have to find a way to get in here. Ooh, do not lose the Cyclone. It's your only anti-air right now. And the last thing you want is to lose that. As you will see the Cloak Banshee follow-up now coming in from KeeN. There is this Banshee from aLive, of course, and as it moves forwards, we will not see it with Cloak. So Cyclone will lock on, just sort of push it back right away. This has been a well, it's been a successful game so far by KeeN. You know, the aggression, the proxy starport is working out, because one of the main things that aLive misses out on is so much mining time. So much mining time is going to be missed out on here. As we have got the again, a couple of Reapers, a couple of Hellions still just poking the front from KeeN. And now comes the Cloak Banshee. Well, the last thing you know, aLive wants to deal with right now is another unit which is likely to cost him money by potentially forcing scans. There is a Raven out, but still might have to scan here and there. But just in general, it's going to be another annoyance, which just slows him down. And you can see aLive is not comfortable in this position right now, throwing down his CC on the high ground, so not taking the low ground expansion, which is what KeeN is doing. And that's just, again, all because of the way this game is set up so far. 3 workers going down as the Reapers come into the main. And this just seems to get better and better for KeeN at this point in time. It just, you know, the situation just keeps on improving, whereas for aLive, it ain't getting any better at all. And it really ain't getting any better at all, so I'm just going to be moving through the middle. Well, I've actually just found this proxy starport, but as the first Banshee comes in, well, I guess there's double Cyclone and a Raven. I mean, he is still likely to lose a couple of workers just because, you know, the double Cyclone and Raven isn't immediately in position. So there's just one SCV killed so far, and he gets out of range of the Cyclones, and it's just like, well, the Banshee is alive. Attack from KeeN across the map, and the CC is going to be denied from building. And again, the advantages of our Red Terran play in this game are just continuing to add on up. aLive look dominant in the longer game, as KeeN sat back rather passively in the first game of the series. In the second game of the series, it's been quite the difference. It's been aggression from KeeN, it's been continued attacks, and after taking one advantage, he just kept rolling with this. As we'll see Order Turrets coming down to help clean this out, and aLive still may be able to push this away. Tank goes down, and KeeN will have to wait for maybe enough tank to come forwards here to keep on attacking and take again the opportunity to come in and just do more damage again. 15 workers to the 31. aLive, half the income. His CC was cancelled as well, which means he's just down on one base. And KeeN, well, I mean, he knows the CC was cancelled. He knows that's gone. Knowing that his main base, you know, he's on 2 bases against 1. Why would you keep pushing across the map if you don't need to? He just pulls back and sits in the natural. Marines still working their way through the umbilical plates, and again, just going to be seeing this army of aLive getting repaired up a little bit, Raven getting repaired, and SCV's pulling back and towards the main base as well. This Banshee of KeeN, again, just back. I mean, aLive is really at this point where he's like, I have to do something more, and now he's moving out to try and do that something more, but it means that he's just going to leave all of his SCVs just vulnerable to the Banshee, which is just going to pretty much clean out the mineral line and stop aLive from ever mining again in this game. KeeN just has to defend, which obviously when you've got multiple tanks up a bunker, seems rather easy to do. I mean, this Gulantar probably could have targeted that down as well at this point. I'm surprised that he didn't break GG alive. He knows he didn't break this. He had to try, but this best of 3 quarter-final here today. Top right side of the map, our Red Terran player from My Insanity. He has, again, he played a very convincing game 1. But then he was pretty much just shut down, and continually shut down in game number 2. It's aLive from My Insanity to the top right-hand side of the map. Bottom left-hand side, the blue Terran player, KeeN. Really in game number 2, just ramping up the aggression, and let's see what he does in this third game. On Proxima Station, I'm intrigued if he also takes a double gas as he's done in the previous 2 games, or whether he just takes this as an opportunity now to throw down the command center and to take a faster expansion for once in this series. But it looks as though that's what he's going to be doing here, so just going to be both players with the single gas and expand early. A gentleman's agreement to some extent. I mean, it's Proxima Station, and being aggressive on this map can be very difficult, obviously, because it's an in-base expansion. And when you're dealing with an in-base expansion, well, you know, trying to attack is just that little bit harder, because there's only so many ways in to attack. A lot of the air-based harassment can still work out, which is why it's not guaranteed that you're going to see the faster expand. But if you do like expanding faster, well, this is the map to do it on, and considering aLive did it early in the series, no surprise to see that now. And in a way, you know, honestly, the same story from KeeN as well. As we set up into this, look to see what's going to happen. Factory. Just setting up here. Obviously, I mean, to follow up the CC, you're going to see a second gas coming into play as well, so it's just going to be pretty much, I guess, from aLive so far, the build we saw in game number 1. We'll see if he goes in towards the same sort of setup himself, which was eventually just kind of the Viking, the siege tank. So, see how this goes. Initial Reapers will turn away from each other. I mean, generally, you don't want to take a fight with your initial Reaper, because if you're building a reactor in a factory, there isn't actually any units in the production tab for you for just a few moments right away. So obviously, if you're playing without those additional, without any additional units, if you lose a Reaper, life can just become combat. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it can sometimes mean you lose a couple of SCVs as well. So no reason to throw your initial Reaper away, and both players just going to sit on either side of their high ground, just waiting in case the other does try to test their luck. But the mine is on the way up from the factory, and we're going to be seeing the starport is going to be finishing in just a few moments as well. And again, just seeing see again the tech lab finishing up on the way, I guess, from this factory. Starport will begin to build a Viking. I mean, super standard Viking as well from aLive, also tech lab on the factory. Hellion will come through though for aLive, and that will allow him to win this fight against the Reaper. So finally, something a little bit different happening between the players. As moving forwards, the Hellion and Reaper just going to pop up the ramp and just try to harass. I love the fact they both expanded, walled in the same way, by the way, which is not to put the second depot here, but in the back. In case of an early push or aggression, this depot is actually much safer now than if it was at the frontier. So that's kind of interesting. Like in case there was like 2 cyclones on the low ground, it's just a little bit further back and a little bit less easy to engage into. It's a small little thing, but you can see that both of them have done it, and there's a reason why both of them have gone for that as well. So, what supply was the first refinery? When you go gas first, you generally go just 15 gas. Go up to 15 SCVs, which is where you hit the supply block while waiting for the depot to finish. You start a gas, then you take your 16th SCV, and you go on a 16 supply racks. So 15 gas, 16 racks. If you want to play double gas, you generally take 17 gas for the TVT. But otherwise, you just stick on the 1 gas from there, throw it down the CSC, and then you take your second gas at like 22 or 23 if you're wanting to do this build order, which these players have done in this game. Command Center starts to build up in the main base as a third, and well, it's a similar story across the map from aLive, but his is in position. Again, I mean, very small differences between the players so far, pretty much just what we expect this to be for the TVT for now. Engineering bay is going to be thrown down here as well. Just a couple of engineering bays coming down. Going to be seeing the army from aLive, just marines, a couple of tanks. Seeing what they can get up to. Yeah, just kind of waiting to kind of see what happens next. Again, just a bit of an uninteresting game so far in Proxima. A very kind of Proxima Station-esque game, I suppose, would be a good way to describe it, because it is just passive. It is just let's take 3 bases and see who wins out in the macro game, rather than sort of getting all up and in each other's faces in the early stages. I mean, To be fair, yes, so far the macro game did go the way of aLive that was played in this series, but this game is looking very different to that in the sense that because KeeN went for an expansion early as well, both players go into the mid game with kind of a very level sort of, with in a very level situation, which is very positive, of course, very powerful, as we do see Marines tanks coming in and just picking off a whatever that was. I'm not too sure. Sorry, but yeah, just. Again, both players getting into this sort of stage of the game in an even position. So while KeeN did again lose the macro game earlier today, I would still say that this could be anyone's to take because KeeN's in a much better position than he was in game 1, I suppose, is the easier way to say this. By the way, some updates from the bracket. Hero and Jachi both moving through their round of 8 matches with a 2-0. And we will be streaming that semi-final as the next matchup on stream, hopefully. So Hero versus Jachi will hopefully be coming up after this best of 3 TBT, and obviously being in the 5th game already, that means we should be going into it after this map. So some PvT action already confirmed for our semi-finals here today. Armory drops down from aLive, and we're just going to be seeing the 2-2 upgrades obviously becoming a possibility in the near future. Same thing from KeeN, isn't it funny? They both forget their armory until the exact same time. Like, they're both going to be late on the +2/+2. It's kind of entertaining. Armory's just a little bit late. Yeah, I guess they don't actually have the gas for 2-2 anyways, but maybe it's planned. Maybe it's somewhat intentional. You never know with players like this how well they kind of time things out. I mean, look at this though. Factory on the way from both players. The fact that they both build the armory at the exact same time, to me, to some extent says that it's kind of intentionally a little bit later than it looks as though it should be. Like, as though they're waiting for the gas. Like, I know that might sound like a bit dumb, but like, now aLive has the gas to start 2-2 and KeeN when the armory finishes. Like, it's almost as though it just lines up a bit too neatly to have been a mistake. It's crazy. It's still pretty much mirroring each other here so far. The one difference is the fact that KeeN has about 30-40 seconds on the combat shield upgrade over his opponent. And that's pretty much the only difference between the two players at this stage of the game so far. So, two medevacs do come over to the right-hand side. Going to be pushing up the right, see what they can do next for the Marines. Lead the charge, and aLive going to get rid of a Marine of KeeN here nice and quickly as well. And that's CC just coming up to the far right-hand side of the map. So, coming up to the far right-hand side of the 4th base. See these Marines and tanks from KeeN coming through and just cleaning it up nice and easily as well. Here you go then, boosting in towards the main. We're going to be seeing those Marines starting to unload, and well, this is the first real action of the game as we're going to be seeing engineering base targeted down, and that is the weapon upgrade. It's a 50-50 chance, but he's actually going to get both of them anyway. So 2-2 being denied. I mean, in a mirror matchup, you know, the upgrades are a huge, huge deal as KeeN continue to push on through, try and attack the front, but that's actually, it looked like a wall on the minimap, but it's actually a wall of siege tanks. So that's going to push KeeN's army at the front back. And that was a cleanup of the drop, but I mean, again, cleaning off out both engineering bays, it's going to give KeeN pretty much an entire set of upgrade lead for the rest of the game. So that's going to give him so many opportunities and so many windows to engage in that are going to be very advantageous for him. So I love that. I mean, engineering bay is a great thing to pick off, and obviously now aLive will have to be a bit more cautious about drops coming in a similar direction in the future. And the Sensor Tower is nicely placed, but we could still see KeeN coming all the way through the south and then up the very far right side to do the exact same kind of drop. If he was to kill the engineering base a second time, that really would be a little bit insane as we see tanks. Just going to see Chia hold that position on the high ground, making so that aLive can't realistically push up here. As we're going to be seeing 3 medevacs into the main, and well, aLive's very out of position, but he does have some tanks and Marines in the main as reinforcements, and those reinforcements are going to be able to stop medevacs from dropping on in there and doing anything else. Again, just some extra racks continue to build up here. These Vikings and a couple of Ravens from KeeN. We haven't really seen, or single Raven, sorry. We haven't seen much action in terms of the Sky armies from either player. They're pretty much similarly sized. In fact, they're pretty much exactly the same, are they? 7 Vikings apiece. 7 Vikings against 9. Slight advantage to KeeN. That's pretty even again. Still just very similar game for both players. KeeN not starting as +3/+3 just yet, so the next set of upgrades, the longer he delays that for, the more he allows aLive to catch up on the 2-2 as uh-oh. There's a scary moment to be on siege as the potential to move forwards there from aLive was definitely around, so the scary moment is averted. aLive with the slightly faster 4th base, saturated, morphed into Palantir already. KeeN just with the CC sat in position, waiting for something to be done to it. trade. This is again just fighting for map control, Marines against Marines. You'll see another attempt to drop in towards the main. There's so many Marines and tanks still left behind for aLive though, that the reality is still just the same as before, that even if these medvacs are able to drop out a little bit, it's going to be a pretty quick response. aLive will get in here and will just shut this down pretty quickly, running right on in. Just needs to make sure he doesn't get too choked up. He's going to be seeing him continue to fight. Those Marines of KeeN continue to drop, and this is going to be very, very solid. aLive cleaning out so much. This entire drop getting shut down. That was a triple medevac, so that wasn't cheap for KeeN to lose. In the meantime, he's going to push forward. He's going to try and take these rocks down, try and cut the corner off. He's actually going to try and get in towards the main. We see KeeN trying to utilize his Vikings and Ravens to push the medevacs back a bit. Liberators have come out from aLive, but I mean, the Sky armies are pretty even, so the Liberators aren't going to do anything immediately. We'll see how it continues. That's a nice snipe down as KeeN gets the volley, which kills a Viking, now kills a medevac. Nice point defense drone as well. He still has his Raven, something which aLive doesn't, so that's an advantage he can play. He's going to start dropping on top of the tanks here, because he's been pushing the Bio army so far backwards. However, it's only so successful. In the end, he stops dropping and just lets that be done. Spreading out a little bit. Vikings taking the CC, just lowering it down in health. It's about half health right now, and trying to fire away onto it again and again. Trying to do a bit more. Tanks again. Try to do just something else here, and just KeeN pushing this position. I love this drop. Just going to jump into the main base, drop straight onto the tank. There's another tank in the very far side of the main, but that's not going to protect this initial production. And that's immediately going to be, well, he's actually going to stem over to the side, which is nice because it slows down for, units trying to run into this position, just because he's going to have the concave advantage. He will be losing that because of the medevacs though. His own medevacs going down already. Sims once again still trading. KeeN about to have 3-3. I was about to say, does he already have the upgrade lead? But no, he doesn't. 3-3 is about to finish up, and it's going to be again another what? He's going to have, he's about 100 seconds ahead, so about a minute and a half, a little bit longer. Sorry, I can't do math. 100 seconds, yeah, a minute and a half, sorry. About a minute and a half ahead on 3-3, so that's a whole minute and a half where aLive has to defend with lesser upgrades, less effective units. He's trying to push out to a 5th base, trying to use hopefully just kind of the ignorance and the tunnel visioning of his opponent to his advantage here to establish a 5th. KeeN, if he just checks for it though, it's going to be a free command center, and that'll be something he'll just lap on up, as he will indeed find this right away. So just as it lands, it's going to be goodbye command center. He's going to stem towards it. Well, there's a Marines over here, and it might be aLive who takes an opportunity now. But again, tanks over here still doing damage. CC does fall. aLive does not take most of this. This Sensor Tower could be something that's killed off by KeeN as well. That would not be a bad target. Sensor Tower is something which is very valuable. Not cheap to replace. I mean, 100 gas is never going to be something you want to just throw away. And just remove that vision for a little bit for aLive as well. So, be surprised if that didn't go down at some point. Now look, KeeN just pulling back, and well, he's taking a forward 5th base. I guess both players taking the same 5th base here. It's kind of funny because to me this base up here for some reason just feels so different to this base down there. I don't know what it is. I think it's just the way the map's laid out, because for me I'd go from this base over there. I wouldn't really think about going from this base and upwards, whereas you would come from this base down here, but I don't know. It's just the way I move my mouse when I'm on different parts of the screen. It's a little bit strange. aLive in trouble, man. More Marines joining on up towards the center for KeeN. You'll see a couple of Liberators now moving forward. That is maybe aLive saving grace. He does have air control, so you will be able to fight quite effectively. In fact, look at all these tanks that are going to go down. It's a huge number of tanks. He takes down 5 of them, loses nothing. He's going to stem down this ramp. His own tank sees it. He's so heavily clumped. He's going to take down another tank in the process. Now he comes down the ramp once again. Still running into some level of tank fire. A lot more Vikings. Now Liberators too here for KeeN. And he will actually hold the air control to really push this back as well. One tank going down instantly, and this KeeN's turn to fight back. He's going to step up this ramp as aLive is on siege. The Marine count might just be a little bit too high. The Vikings going to town. No, tanks in the back will start clean up. A lot of Vikings get killed as well as the Marines get underneath momentarily. 10 more Marines building on either side. Planetary Fortress starting to come up down on the low ground as well. And aLive going to go for a bit of a play, which is just to loop around, escape from his opponent's kind of claws of death. And KeeN really is at this point where, well, I mean, the game is still going. I think one thing you've got to remember is KeeN's been on the aggressor, but aLive hasn't lost too much in too many locations. And aLive has had this 4th base a bit healthier for a little bit longer, so you can afford to lose a bit more here and there. Resources lost, 18.5k to 17.7. It's a very even game throughout, man. Like, very, very even. This sense star goes down, and suddenly, you know, the resource loss just climbs up a little bit even more favorable. A little bit more evened out. Tank's going to be seeing these Marines pushing forwards, and well, going to get rid of a tank right there. And meanwhile, aLive is still trying to find damage across the map, seeing what else he can do. KeeN eventually going to be shut down though, and finally aLive, as he cleans this up, will be able to put himself in a position where maybe he can become the aggressor for a little while. It's so incredible that somehow these upgrades and everything is just evened out at this point. aLive is down about 13 workers, but he's got kind of well, yeah, aLive's down like 13 workers, but that's about it. You know, the army supplies are actually a little bit favorable for aLive, so that's a pretty big deal. Here you go, pushing forward. You're going to see Vikings getting rid of one medevac right away. Second one, too. He's just going to push in. These Liberators, not something he's afraid of. Where are the tanks for KeeN? Where are KeeN's tanks? Non-existent? They're just not here? I really don't know, because it's one of the big issues for him right now. Gets rid of this tank. This base is going to get taken down. aLive on the aggressive suddenly takes a huge moment. A huge play takes down this command center. So Orbital falls. And a Liberator, advanced ballistics, on the way up for KeeN as well. So going into advanced ballistics now again. More Marines, more tanks joining up together. aLive has a 20 army supply lead, down by 5 workers. He is losing a few more as well, as KeeN takes the opportunity to drop across this map. This base, not a planetary fortress just yet. If you look at the structures tab as well, you'll see that there's still triple orbital on either side. That's interesting, because he just lost an orbital here. I thought it was one of his mains floated out, but maybe not. He's got one base there, one base there. Why is this up orbital? There it is, just floating out now. Okay, so that was just for some reason an orbital up to this northern side. Again, aLive, from being defensive the entire game, it feels like. Suddenly he is in the position where he's the aggressor. He's the one who's been controlling the last couple of moments, and he's the one that's been making the engagements to maybe change so much. Orbital down to the south side, just sat here. Marines, tanks, and medevacs from aLive just moving around as well, moving in through the center, and getting this triple medevac of KeeN. Also just looking to see what's up and looking to see what's going on. Marines go, oh, sorry, they're not SCVs. Well, that wouldn't have been much of a doom drop, would it? So here we go, the triple drop. This is going to be huge for KeeN as he unloads SCVs. So yeah, that wouldn't have been maybe not quite the most exciting of drops to cast. Just dropping off these SCVs, then getting some mining. I mean, may as well get something, even if it's a risky position. At this point, it's worthwhile because he doesn't have anywhere else to send those SCVs. He's completely mined out the free bases, as has aLive, of course. aLive takes a gold base. I mean, that's one of the big benefits of having the map control at this point. You're able to hold that forward position. How is KeeN going to take the gold base? Well, he doesn't, because aLive just pushes into it almost straight away afterwards. So looking good for aLive again. Just I mean, what went wrong for KeeN? He was in a good position. But it's just TVT, I guess. A couple trades. I mean, there's a lot of trades in TVT. And it only takes a couple tank shots to suddenly clean everything up and to kind of really change things, turn things around. 20 supply disappears in like 3 or 4 tanks firing. So it can change rather quickly. aLive in the end may just be the better TVT player. I mean, he is an absolute monster. He's been winning so much lately. Like, it's almost difficult to kind of imagine what he hasn't been winning lately. As tank siege up once again. Another scan from KeeN, just identifying that army on the low ground. Again, the Marines are spreading out themselves. Tank's going to siege completely. Is aLive going to stim in from the concave? I mean, you wouldn't think so. It doesn't really make sense for him to suddenly try and stim in and kill his opponent, right? He scans, which is suggestive. I don't know, man. That Liberator range is such a weird upgrade as in TVT, but obviously does have its values. Well, now he's going to force KeeN to move away. This is actually more army from aLive than what KeeN is responding with, so I think aLive might be able to get up here. Vikings shoot down a medevac. aLive doesn't take the opportunity. He does attack up to the top side, though. It's actually KeeN who's attacking, trying to poke forwards. And we come into the stalemate that is Proxima Station as the map continues to split on up to the top side. This orbital is mining away. There's an orbital up here. People have orbitals all over the map at the moment. It's kind of crazy. Every base bar 1 on either side is taken. Actually, sorry, KeeN doesn't have the gold base either. 3 bases on the map that have been taken so far. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Unfortunately, you're going to see KeeN try and take advantage of well, what has become a very good tank position. As we're going to see aLive will just take the chance to set him on aim, and he's coming in from the top and from the south. It's a lot of tanks from KeeN, but it's enough, is it? Maybe? aLive's just lost a lot. I mean, he just fought into such a huge tank count. It wasn't ever going to be pretty for him. I mean, aLive sort of wins this fight, but look how much KeeN has back at home. Suddenly KeeN's 40 army supply ahead. What did we miss? I don't think we missed anything. I think aLive just took a really bad fight there because he, again, it was a good surround, but when you attack into that many tanks, you're still just going to lose so much. And again, KeeN has a lot of reinforcements ready to go. Tank siege, marine stem forwards. I'm going to see how this develops. Another CC up to the top side. Medivacs from aLive. Going to try and doom drop through, but Vikings and Liberators shut that down. Air control for KeeN. He's got the army as well, and now aLive out of position because of that attempt to drop. And suddenly, well, he'll go in for another attempt to surround, but his tanks are so late to siege that his tanks are going to die so quickly. The Medivacs as well. And aLive, he had the bank, he had everything, it felt like, for a while here. But again, I mean, that's TVT for you. One fight can change so much so quickly because of just how effective, how efficient those tanks can trade. Again, with the air control here, I mean, it's just going to be tanks continue to be picked off for aLive. He's just going to be kind of losing tanks left, right, and center as KeeN. Now he's the one stimming in with a concave from the north, from the south. Liberators will siege up the Vikings, get rid of Medivacs. And that, my friends, is probably just about game. aLive will be dropping out here. KeeN moves on through to the semi-finals.